Kinks and Beats Daily. I'm your host, Tony Fry. Thank you for listening. We are on episode number 63, and today we have gotten to End of the Season by the Kinks. This tune was released on September 15th, 1967 as the fifth song on side 2 of Something Else. That was the penultimate song of this album right before Waterloo Sunset. And that's about all I can say about this tune. It opens with some bird sounds and a drony introduction, and then goes into kind of a very relaxed, mid-tempo, lazy swing. And the lyrics are about the end of a sports season. I've seen people say soccer. I've seen rugby, which makes sense because they do mention a scrum at one point in this. But regardless of the sport, it is about the end of a sporting season. I'm going to interpret it as a baseball thing because I'm a diehard baseball fan, and this rings true. Winter time is coming, all the sky is gray, summer birds aren't singing since you went away. Since you've been gone, end of the season. Winter is here, close of play. I get no kicks walking down Savile Row. There's no more chicks left where the green grass grows, and I know that winter is here, end of the season. My reason's gone, close of play. I just can't mix in all the clubs I know. Now labor's in, I have no place to go. This dude is mourning the end of sport as he knows it. This is the first day after the World Series. There's no more baseball till spring training. And these are the cold days, the dog days of winter. Obviously, I know he's not talking about baseball. To my knowledge, Ray Davies could not care less about baseball, especially in 1967 when this tune came out. So I said it starts with this drony introduction. He's droning on a D. The D stays through that whole introduction. And then when we get to the little swing section, which is the meat and potatoes of this song, and it kind of reminds me years later on Metal by Pink Floyd, they have a song called San Tropez, and it covers this same style. It's kind of the Freddie Green style of guitar playing. And he was the guitar player for the Count Basie Orchestra. And what he would do is just four strums to the bar. So no matter what the band is doing, and no matter how fast or slow, he was just doing four strums. And if they were going fast, if it was a fast swing, he would. So it was a more rhythmic, percussive instrument as opposed to a real chordal support. A lot of times he was playing on muted strings even. So it was just to get that percussive nature of the instrument out. This song kind of utilizes that same style. You hear the rhythm guitars just basically. Since you've been gone, end of the season. Right, that's it. And it's got a little lilting swing. Mick Avery kind of plays it more as a two-step than a straight-ahead swing, but it's a little swing tune. Very, mid-tempo. There's nothing really to write about it. And it's very simple. The chords, it's just a G chord. Since you've been gone, end of the G sharp. Just goes up a half step, then back down. Winter is here. Close of E7. That's a cool little turn there. And then he just does F sharp minor to B7. And then that little turn there, A7. Green grass grows, and I know that is a cycle of fifths to take us back to the key of G. Now, where the interesting thing about this chord progression is, and I don't know if this was him or if this was something that was born in the sessions as like Nicky Hopkins and the band are working out this arrangement, but he adds this moving line to it. And this is kind of difficult to play on guitar chromatically the way it's supposed to be. But what he's doing is he's doing a G chord, then a G6 chord, which adds the E, then a G major 7, then back to G6, then the G sharp, G sharp 6, G sharp major 7. So what you've got is this little, I'm sorry. Since you've been gone, end of the season. So you've got this moving line, even though the chords are staying pretty stationary. He's moving the chord progression with extensions of the chord as opposed to changing chords, which is kind of a cool little trick. And he does it through the whole thing. I get no kicks walking down Savile Road. So that's just a bass line leading up to the E minor. There is no more chicks left where the green grass grows. Since you've been here. Right? So he's just using these moving lines to lead us into other parts of the chord. When we get to the bridge, you're on a yacht near an island, near an island near Greece. Though you are hot, forget me not, for I will keep. So he does a descending little bass line there. But that's about it. It's a very simple chord progression. It's nice. I like when songs move in half steps, like he's moving from the G to the G sharp. It's a cool thing. But it's very simple at its most basic. But adding those extensions on top of it makes it feel like it's a lot more complicated than it really is. So that's End of the Season. It's good recording. It's one of those songs, I don't skip it when it comes on, but it's not one that I actively go seek out. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, I should listen to End of the Season today. But it's a good song. It's got a real, I like Ray's vocal delivery on this. It's very depressed sounding, which fits the lyrics perfectly. And it's it is what it is. That's End of the Season. Tomorrow, what are we talking about? We're going to I Me Mine, a George Harrison track that was off of the Let It Be album that has some interesting timing aspects to it. So I'm looking forward to talking about that one. Give me a call, 925-494-1739, and tell me about some Beatles or Kinks songs you love or you hate or you have a personal connection to. Give me an anecdote. Like In My Life was the first song at your wedding or whatever like that. I would love to hear that. Or you can email me, kinksandbeats@herohabit.com. And as always, of course, subscribe to this podcast and leave me a 5-star rating and review, please. Thank you. On a little bit of sad news, over the weekend, I went to the funeral of my college music theory professor. And music students spend a lot of time with music teachers, all from high school forward. I mean, you figure in high school, if you're in the marching band, you are with that music teacher 5 days a week. You are with that music teacher usually 1 or 2 nights a week at marching band rehearsals, every Friday night at football games, every Saturday at marching band competitions or music festivals and stuff like that. So you are spending just countless hours with your music teacher. So music students often get real close with their music teachers, and it becomes a friendlier relationship than with most teachers. My college music professor, music theory professor, really taught me a lot about composition and how music is made. And the reason I bring it up is because I probably wouldn't be able to do this podcast without the instruction that Jim Heiner gave me. All this musical analysis. We did music theory at that school. It was 2 years, 5 days a week. So I started every morning for 2 years learning about music from this guy. And what we would do is, he would hand us for the next 2 weeks, we're going to do this analysis of a Beethoven sonata or whatever. And we would just sit down and break down every single measure of this sonata and analyze the chord structures and the melodies and all that kind of stuff to really get a feel for the music. Because as he said, you can talk about baseball, but until you put a bat in someone's hand and throw a ball at them, they're not really going to know how to play baseball. And so that was his idea, was, we were going to study deeply the sheet music of these master composers, and then we were going to write our own music. And by the end of that class, we had a nice little portfolio of classical music we'd written. And one of my fondest memories of him, and I've told this story several times off this podcast, was analyzing a Beethoven sonata that starts off with an extended slow section and then goes into an up-tempo section. And he made the argument that the slow section was just an introduction and did not need to be analyzed in the context of the whole piece as an A section or a B section, that it was just the intro. And I argued that it was actually the A section because it does reappear later in the piece. And we spent the entire class debating that. And I always appreciated that he let me debate that, because there wasn't a right answer. Neither one of us was right or wrong. It could go either way. And you'll hear me say that often on this podcast. Okay, we could analyze Here Comes the Sun as a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or whatever. Or you could just analyze it as a bar of 5 with a bunch of triplets. You could do either one and be more or less correct. But he gave us all the chance. If we could make an argument for it, he would hear it. So I just wanted to dedicate today's episode to Jim Heiner, because without him, I don't know that I would know as much about music as I do today. And, it was an obsession before I got to him, and it was an obsession during, and it has continued to be an obsession for the years since I have been in his class. And he once gave a lecture about the Beatles' White Album being a song cycle. So there's a lot of connection here. But so I wanted to dedicate this episode to Jim. For who knows how much more boring this show could be without the musical theory analysis that he gave me. So this one's for you, Jim. All right. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Again, 925-494-1739 if you want to leave me a voicemail. If you want to talk about several different songs, leave me a separate voicemail for each song so that I can play them on different episodes of the podcast. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. I'm Iman. Have a great day. This podcast is presented by the Hero Habit Podcast Network. Swing by HeroHabit.com today to comment on this episode and poke around our growing database of sports and pop culture news, reviews, and collectibles. HeroHabit.com. Collect your heroes.